General Kukov is late?
We have matters to discuss before he arrives.
Nadia, this tea is excellent.
Thank you. I prepared it myself. Incompetence will not be tolerated. We cannot allow you to endanger the Iron Curtain project any longer. I'm glad you agree.
Dealing with traitors is my responsibility.
Yes, and my pleasure. My spies report that the Allies are planning a major naval attack against us. You can cut them off at the refueling station. Land your MCV on a suitable island and destroy the Allies' base and refueling station. We must keep the area clear for our submarine operations. Go. Now, General Kukov, tell me about this Allied secret weapon that you found. The chronosphere?
Welcome back, Commander. Gotta admit, it's kind of funny to see the Russian or Soviet High Command basically slap fight each other. It's my turn to kill the traitor. I wanted to do it. It's also gotta be kind of unnerving to just have the dead corpse of somebody just lying there. Alright, time for your TPS report, Johnson.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Vehicle report. Yes, sir. At once. Yes, sir. Waiting order. Reporting very well.
I guess it's nice that this would have been before the time that I would have realized that, bodies kind of vacate their bowels after they die. So it's not a very pleasant, meeting.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Reporting. Yes, sir. Waiting order. Yes, sir. Report ready and waiting. At once. Yes, sir. Vehicle report.
Normal progression of a campaign dictates that this would be the hardest mission we've ever played so far. And it's right. And for all the annoying reasons. First off, the landing point that we have is just crap. Like, there's nothing for us to really do. Secondly, as we've seen, there's a large number of Allied naval power that's just sitting around. We have no base, and presumably bringing any harvester nearby is just going to get the attraction of a cruiser pummeling them forever and ever. And it doesn't seem like we can actually reach the cruiser. Now, the quote-unquote obvious fix to this would be to, say, destroy a bridge or two, sneak in some submarines, and kill the cruiser that way. Also, I really don't know what the hell those jeeps are doing. I'm pretty sure it's not to take out my transport, but at this point I don't really know. Getting back to the map, though, it's clear that there's some things we could do, but the fact that there's some decent minerals and gems on locations that are near the base, it's kind of up to the player to decide if they want to risk being able to go grab that income or not.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Ready and waiting.
At least on the plus side, you're first harvester probably doesn't have to go towards the cruiser, what with the mineral fields on the left side there.
Construction complete. New construction options.
It's still something you're going to have to worry about, though. Like, a lot.
Comrade, acknowledged.
Oh, and hey, there's another cruiser.
Reporting. Waiting order.
That's probably going to be a theme for now.
Once. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Oh, and keep in mind, we only have submarines.
Affirmative. Comrade. Acknowledged.
Only have submarines.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
And what makes it even worse is that it doesn't really seem like we'll be able to sneak anybody up from the upper, like the northern portion of the map. So now we have to kind of go digging in the middle to see where exactly we can get subs to attack the cruisers on the right. Or I guess technically just cruiser singular, but still. On the plus side, we can see some advanced power plants.
New construction options. Building.
I got nothing.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
In a discarded run from the previous mission,
Yes, sir.
I had used MiGs and other aircraft to go after one of the destroyers in the northern or southern little like ponds that had destroyers in them. Effectively, MiGs are just not all that great versus boats. It's not necessarily that they don't do a lot of damage or that, you know, destroyers are crazy good at defending against aircraft. It's more that, well, let's be honest, yaks just suck.
Vehicle reporting.
Yaks are really not good against anything that's armored, and, well, all boats are armored. So, next thing is the MiG, but the MiG is, well, rather light in its armament. Or armor. So what ends up happening is MiG tends to fall for every, like, 2 or 3 attempts at a destroyer.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
It just makes the whole endeavor, well, not very cost efficient.
Construction complete. Unit lost. Training. Building. Unit ready.
Yes,
Unit
yes, sir.
lost. Training. Unit ready. Training. Unable to comply. Building
Yes, sir. Agreed.
Training.
Waiting orders.
Construction complete. Construction options. Building.
Waiting orders. Affirmative.
The other downside is that MiGs just cost a lot. So having something, you know, having or fielding a large amount of them sort of carries the same problem that Apaches have, or that Yaks have, and so on. You know, you have to invest in an area for them to land. Not only so that they can just survive as they are, but also so that they can rearm. So if you don't have anywhere for them to land, they just are pointless. In fact, the manual states clearly that the MiGs and other aircraft will just fall out of the sky if there's nowhere for them to go.
Construction.
So you have the initial investment of the airstrip, and then on top of that you have to buy the MiG. Now, figure that if you wanted to do something like one-hit kill certain buildings,
Cancel. Building.
or be able to like constantly rotate stuff out so that you can always be doing damage, you're looking at least 4 MiGs. So, you know, 4 airfields at what, $600 a pop, plus MiGs that are $1,200, I think. I forget. Point being that it all ends up being rather expensive.
Ready. Select target.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Acknowledged. Awaiting
Unit
orders.
ready.
Now, obviously, there's always the argument that tanks have their own cost to them, which isn't wrong. Only issue really is that heavy tanks just last longer. They're more durable.
Vehicle acknowledged.
Construction complete. Construction options. Building.
For some reason, I always feel like a mammoth tank is like
Reporting.
$1,400 or $1,500, and not 17.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. Agreed. Reporting. Very well. Waiting orders. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Ready. Select target.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Select target. Low power. Building. Naval unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
So if it wasn't made clear, the objective for this mission is you effectively want to cripple Allied naval power, which explains why there's just so damn much of it.
Affirmative.
Unfortunately, again, due to the nature of how MiGs are a little flimsy, and just the strength of the Allies having cruisers everywhere and so on, kind of makes it so that you're gonna have to assault it by land at some point.
Reinforcements
Or amphibiously assaulted.
lost.
Either way, you gotta get boots on the ground.
Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
Even if it means sacrificing a lot of paratroopers in the name of Stalin and communism, I guess.
Order. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Ready.
Acknowledged. Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
I don't know why I don't send the tanks after him. Like, it took a while.
Yes, sir. Agreed.
Oh, and you can kind of just... Ah, there it is. There's another issue that I really hate with this map.
Spy plane.
Technically, I hate the fact that the unit acts this way, but it's just so much more apparent on this map. And that's the fact that subs don't auto-attack for some reason. They probably do if you like set stuff in guard mode, and hell, I never friggin' remember to do that.
Building.
But the Allies get free cruisers,
Unit ready.
and they just kind of happen to wander around on the map, usually towards your base. And, well, subs aren't really fast, so if you kind of miss it,
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
let's just say cruisers can have a fun time bombarding you from a large distance.
Construction options. Building.
Yes, sir.
Insufficient funds.
Oh, hey, remember how I said that thing about the cruisers that they get for free? They also get one that comes in from the south on the bottom left corner of the map.
Affirmative.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Unit ready. Building.
Waiting order. Waiting order.
So, not only do they get
Yes, sir.
cruisers that come from the right corner of the map, the left corner of the map,
Spy plane.
it's also implied that they come from the top left corner of the map, because we've seen at least two up there. And there's one that barely revealed itself on the right there. And I think it's just not moving for some reason.
Building.
Comrade. Echo report. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Construction
Yes, sir.
complete. Construction options. Unit
sir.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Waiting order. Yes,
Select target. Unit ready.
It should be noted that parabombs, since this is the first real time I get to talk about them, parabombs are about the hardest ability to use properly. Hell, probably even just use, period.
Comrade, affirmative. Comrade,
The reason behind this is that parabombs don't have the same sort of I can spawn anywhere and do whatever I want attitude that paratroopers get.
acknowledged.
So what ends up happening is parabombs just kind of spawn in from somewhere off the map.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I believe that it kind of how do I put this? It stays the same location until maybe some outside force acts upon it, but I'm not 100% sure. Generally speaking, if you notice that a parabomb Badger bomber spawns at one specific point on the map, it'll usually always spawn on, like, at that specific area. Again, what makes this important is that the parabomb Badger bomber has the same sort of stats as the paratrooper Badger bomber.
Acknowledged.
Effectively, what this means is that it's as vulnerable and comes in at a random location. And random is only a temporary thing, but it's still random the first couple of times you do it. Especially if you don't have any sort of like if you don't have view on the map and it comes in from a off point that you can't see, you're just kind of screwed. Anyways, this is all to say that because they're so vulnerable and parabombs take twice as long to recharge as paratroopers do, effectively what it means is that you kind of have to aim a parabomb and a paratrooper or a spy plane to kind of take hits for the parabombs.
Affirmative.
Does it make a lot of sense? Not really. Is it easy to do? Not at all. It takes a lot of practice. I used to get it down as a kid to a somewhat accurate degree, but it also helped that I played this game religiously, and I believe, on easy difficulty, you don't take as much damage, units, blah blah blah. Basically, it was just kind of easier to make sure that like apex where they crossed each other was easier to hit.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Awaiting orders.
Obviously, if you know where all the allied defenses are, it becomes a lot easier. If you can kind of figure out where your spy plane is, that also makes it easier because you can kind of gauge the speed and so on.
Select target.
But the end result is that it'll always be incredibly hard to ever get parabombs on target.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Another thing that kind of makes parabombs a little less effective than they could be is that,
Very well.
well, like with anything that's paradropped, it's just not very accurate. In essence, you kind of have to aim a little bit further away from where your target is to really get a good spread of damage onto it. This also brings up the issue that if you don't know from where your parabomb's coming from, your entire bombing run could be sent into the nothingness because it's just trying to bomb an area that has nothing.
Yes, affirmative.
Because obviously, if you're trying to overshoot in one direction,
Building.
those three other cardinal directions just don't work. Period.
Ready.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Obviously, depends on if it's like a heavily built up area and so on. But the edge cases are different. Or I guess just special cases. Anyways, that's my little rant on parabombs. Just not as good as they could be, sadly.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Waiting order.
But at least we'll always have, you know, paratroopers. Even if they're not always too useful.
Yes, acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Sometimes I just hate how stupid submarines are. Although, to be fair, it's not really the submarine's fault, it's just how targeting and movement and everything happens.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
On hold. Unit ready.
Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yeah, I don't quite get why there's a transport there. I mean, it could be dropping stuff further up north, but either it has and it just hasn't moved off map, or it
Yes, sir.
wants to but won't? I don't know.
Once. Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Very well. Waiting orders.
Primary building selected.
It sucks that we don't have the Iron Curtain, though. It'd be pretty useful, not only to use, say, with a submarine, just to get around all these pesky naval units, but even just like a transport, so that you'd maybe feel a little bit more comfortable with sending some enemy or some ground forces towards the enemy base.
Select target.
Waiting orders. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack. Naval unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building. Naval unit lost. Select
Affirmative.
target.
Waiting acknowledged.
Naval unit
Yes,
lost.
sir.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready. Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
On the plus side, once you kill the first naval yard,
Target.
other than the odd reinforcements, there's nothing really that prolongs the naval game.
Reinforcements have arrived. Unit lost.
Like, that was kind of successful, I guess, for, you know, taking shots, but
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
again, it's just not useful. It would have obviously been smarter to go after the power plants. Not only because, I mean, we spotted quite a bit of the map, and it doesn't look like there's any resources up top, so...
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Spy plane ready. Select target. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Insufficient funds. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Waiting order. Acknowledged. Comrade.
You know, it's a good thing that those cruisers will generally stop when being shot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
And speaking of overshooting and undershooting, I believe I mentioned it, the Yaks also suffer from the same problem, where you always kind of want to overshoot your target.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Here I figured maybe I could get through, but unfortunately those little doodads up in the rocks are just too much for the subs to cross.
Yes, sir.
And because we can't destroy the bridges to get anywhere, we're effectively locked out from anything on the right side of the map.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, acknowledged.
Cancel. Select target.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Waiting orders. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Now, technically, I should probably kill the cruiser on the right, get that out of the way, and then basically be able to mine whatever I want on the right side, hassle-free.
Yes, sir. Awaiting.
But I guess I'm just deciding to take my time with this.
Affirmative. Waiting order.
All for the better, really, because if you don't plan your assault on this base, or on this part of the map, it just becomes a nightmare. For multiple reasons.
Affirmative.
Construction complete. Building.
Comrade. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
So, you might have noticed that there's a couple extra explosions there that probably don't really fit in with the rest. That's
Spy plane.
kinda oh, look, a camo pillbox. That's virtually impossible to spot. Sure, there's the radar, but, you know, that was always annoying as a kid.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Just all out of the blue, your infantry just melts.
Yes, sir. At once.
But getting back to the earlier part,
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
you kind of noticed that there were some extra, just blowy up bits. That's because this entire portion, which is pretty much forced on the player, has mines everywhere.
Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Yes, sir.
It's not so bad, you might be thinking, but the fact that infantry just aren't all that great
Ready.
means that, you know, if you don't throw in some air power here and there, you're facing camo pillboxes, which again are just monstrous.
Silos
Yes,
needed.
sir. Affirmative.
And there's a bunch of turrets,
Building.
and there's air power on the Allied side. So, obviously, you know, what's the smartest thing to do? And consequently, it's build a shit ton of mammoth tanks.
Building.
Yes, sir.
At least, that was always my trick.
Unit ready. Unit ready.
Waiting order.
It's not a very advanced strategy. I'm just saying it's my trick.
Vehicle reporting.
Spy plane.
Yes,
Ready.
affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Waiting order. Yes, sir.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Select target. Unit ready.
You know, this map almost made me rethink my opinion on Heinz.
Building.
Vehicle reporting.
Like, maybe they're okay. Not good, but okay.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order.
On hold. Cancel. Building.
This is one of those things that you never really think about,
Affirmative.
but
Is under attack.
Acknowledged.
is actually a really effective way of getting some air power in locations you probably wouldn't expect.
Affirmative.
Or at least, you know, not lose it immediately from all the air defenses.
Reporting.
Construction complete.
Sadly, still wasn't able to destroy that power plant, but
Yes, sir.
damage is a start.
Select target.
Reporting. Acknowledged. 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 Awaiting. Acknowledged. Report. Acknowledged.
And there's the problem of undershooting.
Nothing.
One, maybe two bombs were close enough to do any amount of damage, everything else missed.
Waiting for affirmative. Comrade.
And, you know, when it takes like 12 minutes or whatever to respawn or recharge,
Select
it just
target.
kind of sucks.
Construction complete.
Comrade, acknowledged.
Building. Insufficient funds. Building.
Yes, sir.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived. Unit lost.
Oh, right. Nearest point on the map. I was kind of hoping they'd come in from the west.
Affirmative.
And this is what happens when you happen to have, you know,
Acknowledged.
subs that don't auto-target building or cruisers.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged. Awaiting orders.
It's just this mad scramble to try and get them to do
Cancel.
anything.
Building.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Next thing you know, you've lost a sub, some power, you can't build anything quickly, and it just snowballs.
Construction
Yes, sir.
complete.
Affirmative.
Low power. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
I'm taking my time too because amphibious landings, especially in this game, are tough. They're exceedingly tough to do. And it takes about like 7 MiGs to take out a cruiser, which is excessive.
Reporting.
But I always had problems assaulting this base, so, you know, I figure I should take my time and not screw this up. After all, you know, building 5 mammoth tanks and losing them all just to have to rebuild them is a little more tedious than just building 10 straight up and doing it that way.
Yes, sir. Waiting
Unit
orders.
ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, affirmative.
Construction complete.
So yeah, normal circumstances, you come here, Apaches shoot at you, you try to move up with like heavy tanks, you got 4 medium tanks that immediately start attacking you, you got mines on the ground that just blow up anything you try to do. Chaos, basically. And then that happened, and I
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
was absolutely, completely confused for the next like 5 minutes.
Affirmative.
That's not supposed to happen. Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Select target.
I'm 100% sure you're not supposed to do that.
Waiting.
You know, your tanks are, you're supposed to go north, discover that the building is the bridge is destroyed. You say screw it, and then you go west, and you move that way.
Unit lost.
You're not supposed to somehow get around a cliff because of some like weird
Yes, affirmative.
gap or something that I can only imagine exists in like this version rather than the
Awaiting
the
orders.
basic, you know, default map or whatever.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Anyways, grumbling aside,
Affirmative.
it's nice, but absolutely breaks how this mission is supposed to play out.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived. Unit
Reporting.
ready. Unit
Acknowledged.
lost. Unit
Oh, and yeah, this is like the first time I've ever seen the Allies get a Chinook and have them have 5 engineers inside them and then just have them bum rush you for no particular reason.
lost.
Yes, sir. Vehicle report. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
And yeah, because the map was designed so that an artillery unit could fire, like, could be moved in to replace either a damaged one or a destroyed one, and, you know, fire on you, it becomes this, like, crazy thing where all of a sudden, I'm now in the rear of the enemy base.
Vehicle report.
And that, again, shouldn't be possible.
Vehicle affirmative.
But hey, I'll take any help I can get.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
And this is the problem that you have if you don't clear out the cruiser first.
Reporting.
A couple lucky shots, and next thing you know, all the bridges are down, and
Acknowledged.
you kind of have to send in a transport to save your harvesters.
Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes.
Again, this really isn't supposed to be possible.
Reporting. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle report. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Reporting. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Yes, sir.
Spy plane
Acknowledged.
ready. Select target.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle acknowledged. Wait, acknowledged. Report acknowledged. Awaiting order. Acknowledged. Yes, acknowledged.
Select target.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
I hate AA guns.
Building.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Yes, sir.
ready.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle report. Yes, acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Report. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Going affirmative.
Select target.
Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Affirmative.
Spy plane ready.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit lost. Building. Cancel.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Going acknowledged.
Select target.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit
Waiting
lost.
orders. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Awaiting. Yes, sir. Awaiting for affirmative. Acknowledged. Awaiting orders. Vehicle acknowledged. Await acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. Vehicle affirmative. Vehicle acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged.
The only real problem with playing this mission out the way it is currently is just that, well,
Acknowledged.
you have to destroy everything on the map, so
Awaiting orders.
regardless of your own machinations, you still have to go through the whole like western. This entrance should be the only one that actually works type thing. So you still have to go through, you know, mine hell and all those camo pillboxes. On the plus side, though, there's no hour-long, you know, timer. And it's better than watching Allied boats move from south to north.
Select target.
It's kind of weird, though, that you have like some units that are guarding the quote-unquote gates of this place, and yet they don't ever move. Unless shot at, of course. Yeah, imagine that. You're just going around minding your own business, sending paratroopers to their doom, and suddenly just camel pillboxes everywhere.
Vehicle report reporting. Affirmative knowledge. Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yeah, before anybody asked in the comments, I did this as a kid too, just constantly firing all over on the ground. Because you never know when there's just that one extra mine that takes out a mammoth tank, or a heavy tank, or whatever else you have on hand.
Awaiting acknowledged.
Spy plane ready. Select target. Select target.
Awaiting
Reinforcements
acknowledged.
arrived.
Vehicle reporting. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Awaiting orders. Of course.
Now, can you guess which building is going to remain till the near end and give me issues? Like every other time this happens?
Vehicle report. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Awaiting affirmative. Report negative.
You know, I would have heard it if it wasn't for that AA gun playing its damage sound and masking the other one.
Report acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit
Yes,
ready.
sir. At once. Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. Yes, affirmative. Acknowledged. We acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes,
Base is
affirmative.
under attack. Unit lost.
Awaiting affirmative. Acknowledged.
I don't know where this comes out from.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Just all of a sudden 3 Apaches. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Spy plane
Acknowledged, sir.
ready.
Yep, good old turret.
Full report.
There's always one. Thankfully, though, MiGs move rather quickly.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Alright. You're up, MiG. Or, sorry, Hind.
Awaiting affirmative.
Cannot be built. Low power.
Awaiting affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Oh, for the love of...
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. Cannot be.
Remember how I constantly say I hate camo pillboxes?